ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. The master with Vijay Goswami. So, in the last class, we saw that the conversation was that when the I ceases, and immediately when the ego ceases, it leads to the realization of the divinity within us. That God doesn't easily appear in the heart of a man who feels himself to be his own master. But God can be seen the moment His grace descends. So ego is the hold with which we are clinging to the tree of samsara. So as we were discussing, that to fall from a tree, there is no need for any effort. Just we have to release the hold. Similarly, all our effort in spiritual life at last is intended to lose the hold of our ego. With our ego, we are holding onto the branch of this tree called samsara, this life, this world. The moment that resignation comes, the grace is there which lifts us to the divine. So that's what we were discussing. So now, almost in the concluding section of this discussion, we have arrived, the master's discussion with Vijay. So what he's saying now, master, he is the son of knowledge. One single ray of his has illumined the world with the light of knowledge. That is how we are able to see one another and acquire varied knowledge. One can see God only if he turns his light towards his own face. So this is a wonderful thing, that idea which we find Sri Ramakrishna is speaking of. He is speaking of in Vedanta also. There is a wonderful as mantra in the Upanishad. What is that? The Paranchi Khani Vyatrinat Swayambhu Tasmat Parak Pashyati Na Antaratman Kaschid Dhira Pratyagatmanakshat Avritta Chakshu Amritatvam Icchan. So what's the idea? The Paranchi Khani Vyatrinat Swayambhu. Swayambhu, the Lord, He has inflicted our senses in such a way that we always look outward. Tasmat parak pashyati. Parak means moving out. Na antaratman. We never look within. Kaschid dhira. There are few blessed ones. They are the wise ones. They are the calm souls, the dhira, who intending to see what's within, what they do? Avritta chakshu. They as if close all their interaction with the external world to see what's within. So that's the idea, which is that if you have to really see God, if you have to really realize the divine dimension of our existence, we have to go within, stop our interaction with the outside and just dive within. So what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, that he is the son of knowledge. One single ray of his has illumined the world with the light of knowledge. That is how we are able to see one another and acquire varied knowledge. The God sitting within our heart through our mind is projecting outside through the senses. It is the mind which is being illumined by the self is projected through the senses, and what we see is the projection. The self being projected through the mind, through the senses, is what we see as the world. Our mind is a wonderful projector. So with all our science, we can think of projecting only light and sound. Just two things. But the mind is a wonderful projector. It projects 5 things: the light, the sound, the taste, the touch, the smell. These 5 things are being projected by the mind. How it is projecting? Because the self is there behind the mind to activate the mind, and then it projects outside this entire world. So that's how the world is getting illumined. How to see the one who is being projected as this world, to stop this external projection and dive within. So these two can never happen together. I want to be with the world and at the same time commune with the divine. These two can never happen. So that's why he's saying one can see God only if he turns his light towards his own face. So this is the idea, wonderful idea, that we just let us read a wonderful analogy of Guru Maharaj Sri Ramakrishna, and then we will again come to the discussion. What he's saying: the police sergeant goes his rounds in the dark of night with a lantern in his hand. No one sees his face, but with the help of that light, the sergeant sees everybody's face and others. And others too can see one another. So, no one can see the sergeant's face, but with the help of that light, the sergeant can see everyone's face, and others too can see one another. If you want to see the sergeant, however, you must pray to him, "Sir, please turn the light on your own face. Let me see you." In the same way, one must pray to God, "O Lord, be gracious and turn the light of knowledge on thyself, that I may see thy face." So as we were saying, these two can never happen together. That when I am interacting with the world, I cannot see the self within. We generally give the example of the 2 gates of a jail. If any jail you go, in any reformatory centers, generally there are 2 gates. There are 2 gates that to ensure that no one runs away from the jail. What they do, that they will have 2 gates, and both the gates will never open together. If you have to enter the jail, when you go, and just the guard will first ensure that the inner gate is locked, then only he will open the outer gate. And when you are between the 2 gates, he will first ensure that the outer gate is locked first, and then he will open the inner gate. So our body is also like that. It has 2 gates. One is all these external gates: the eyes, the ears, the nose, the taste, the tongue, the skin, the touch. These are the 5 gates through which I am interacting with the external world. But there is another gate. Our scriptures say that is in the heart. That God is as if seated in the heart of each and every being. Hridayanam sannivishta. He is sitting in the heart. But why cannot we see him? There is another gate. As long as these external gates are open, that gate remains closed. To open this gate, the inner gate, first we have to close the external gate. As we give the example of the Indian temples, if you go to the Indian traditional temple, you will find that the sanctum sanctorum, they have 9 gates around, 9 doors. Even in our Belur Math, there are 9 doors. So this sanctum sanctorum has the 9 doors. What those 9 doors signify? They are the 9 external doors of our perception. The 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nose, 6, mouth, 7, the organ of evacuation, 8, and organ of procreation, 9. So these are the 9 gates through which we interact with the world. So that's why the shrine, the temple, actually signifies the human body with 9 gates. You will find the 9 doors. When we have to offer something to the divine in the temple, we'll find that all the doors are first closed. That sometimes you go to the temple and you find all the doors closed, you ask the attendant there, that is the shrine closed? He will say, no, it will open. The service is going on. When the service is going on, the doors are closed. Why? The idea is that when you have to commune with the divine, then these external doors has to be closed. That cannot be together. So unless you close these external doors, you stop the ahara. In scriptures, we speak the word in Sanskrit is the word ahara. Loosely we translate it as food. But actually, the word ahara means anything which we are taking in. Aharate, aharana. Whatever we are taking in is food. Whatever we are taking in through our eyes, through our ears, through our nose, as smell, as taste, as touch, all these are aharana. We are just gathering in. And what is ahara shuddhi? The ahara shuddhi speaks of purification of this ahara. Unless we purify the things we are perceiving, that unless we restrict them, there cannot be any, that's what is the chitta shuddhi. Just chitta prasada happens, the purification of the chitta happens only when there is ahara shuddhi. And that's the idea which has been spoken of here. That it is the self which, being reflected through the mind and senses, is projected as this external universe which we all see. It is the same consciousness. To see that, we have to turn within. And we have to stop our interaction with the external world, dive deep within, and then only we can realize our own self. And this is being indicated by these two words, parak and pratyak. Parak means moving out, pratyak means moving in. These two words, as just now we mentioned in the Upanishad, that mantra, that paranchikhani, vetrinat swayambhu, tasmat parak pashyati. As he has inflicted the sense in such a way that it only sees outside, parak pashyati, na antaratman. It never delves within. Kaschid dhira pratyagatmanikshat. A few calm soul, wise men, who have understood that to commune with the self, you have to stop the interaction without. So kaschid dhira, pratyagatman. See, the word pratyak comes here. Pratyagatman, not parak, which is within. Pratyagatman aikshat, to realize that. Avritta chakshu, close these external organs and dives within. Amritatvam icchan, to realize the infinite dimension of his spiritual existence. So that's the idea, how nicely, with the help of this parable, Sri Ramakrishna is very easily, very simply, is explaining. What? Let's read the parable again. The police sergeant goes his rounds in the dark of night with a lantern in his hand. No one sees his face, but with the help of that light, the sergeant sees everybody's face, and others too can see one another. If you want to see the sergeant, however, you must pray to him, Sir, please turn the light on your face. Let me see you. In the same way, one must pray to God, O Lord, be gracious and turn the light of knowledge on thyself, that I may see thy face. A house without light indicates poverty. So one must light the lamp of knowledge in one's heart. As it is said in a song, lighting the lamp of knowledge in the chamber of your heart, behold the face of the mother, Brahman's embodiment. So that's the same idea, that unless we turn within, we can, by stop our interaction with the without, there can never be spiritual realization. So lighting the lamp of knowledge means that diving within constantly, reflecting on the spiritual dimension of our existence. Either it is in the form of Brahmakara Vritti or it is in the form of Ishtakara Vritti, both of them. The one who is a Jnani, who is constantly thinking, I am Brahman, that so each and every Vritti, each and every thought wave of his mind is taking the form of Brahman, that is Brahma Akara Vritti. And if he is a devotee, he thinks of the ultimate reality as a concept of divinity, and he thinks himself as in an eternal association with that, and constantly contemplates on that concept of divinity, and that is called as Ishtakara Vritti. Both are same. Both are actually enabling us to relate to the spiritual dimension of our existence, the infinite spiritual dimension of our existence. So that's the thing Sri Ramakrishna is saying as lighting. So you light your inner, the core of your being, with the light, with the light of the self, by constantly contemplation of the self. The house without light indicates poverty. So one must light the lamp of knowledge in one's heart. As it is said in the song, lighting the lamp of knowledge in the chamber of your heart, behold the face of Mother, Brahman's embodiment. So constantly contemplate on the divine. As Vijay, so here conversation with Vijay ends. Of course, we will start the next section where another devotee comes in. His name is Prana Krishna. With him, the Sri Ramakrishna's discussion will start, which we will commence today itself, as we have a lot of time. As Vijay had brought medicine with him, the master asked a devotee to give him some water. He was indeed a fountain of infinite compassion. He had arranged for Vijay's boat fare, since the latter was too poor to pay it. Vijay, Balaram, M, and the other devotees left for Calcutta in a country boat. Monday, January 1, 1883. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Sri Ramakrishna was seated on a mat spread on the floor of his room at Dakshineshwar. Since it was a cold day, he had wrapped his body in his moleskin shawl. Prana Krishna and Aim were seated in front of him. Rakhal too was in the room. Prana Krishna was a high government official and lived in Calcutta. Since he had no offspring by his first wife, with the permission he had married a second time. By the second wife he had a son. Because he was rather stout, the master addressed him now and then as the fat Brahmin. He had great respect for Sri Ramakrishna. Though a householder, Prana Krishna studied the Vedanta and had been heard to say, Brahman alone is real and the world illusory. I am he. The master used to say to him, in the Kali Yuga, the life of a man depends on food. The path of devotion prescribed by Narada is best for this age. So, as in previous occasions also we mentioned that Sri Ramakrishna again and again in Bengali he is saying Kolite Annogato Pran, which is translated as in Kali Yuga the life of man depends on food. But this translation, as we feel, doesn't reflect the exact meaning. The Kalite Annagata Pran means what? Is in this age, for your sustenance, for our sustenance, we will find that there is no leisure. From morning till the evening, only we have to work. We have to work so hard that there is almost no leisure. To earn this bread and butter, we have to work very hard. So there is no question of getting some time for my exclusive spiritual journey. So just to sit down and think I am Brahman and contemplate on that fact is very difficult. But devotional practice, even in this age, is possible. How? That whatever I am doing with the idea that it is the God who has placed me in this situation of life, I have to take care of all my duties, but it is He who is working through me, as the entire Bhagavad Gita is based on that idea. That nimitta matra, you are just an instrument through which the divine is working. So He has a bigger plan. The plan is the plan of yajna, to maintain the entire creation, to sustain the entire creation. And for that He has given love in our heart, compassion in our heart. And it is all our actions ensues from that, the mother's love for the child. This all the work which we are doing for others out of empathy, sympathy, altruism. That's the basic thing with which the world is working. So from where all those good emotions come from? Have I developed it? No. We will find that it is already there in our heart. A mother cannot claim that the love which I have for the child is something which I have grown. It was already there. So our genes are there nowadays. Our genes are altruistic. So that's the idea of yajna, that God has created us with the idea of interbeing. That we cannot stay as an exclusive entity. We have to interact with the world. We have to be a part of just a small part of a huge game which is going on. It's a group work. It's a group activity where I have to play my role in an indefinite way. And for that, God has given me the capability. It is His power which is working through me. I am just the nimitta, just the instrument. So that way, there is no question of asking for something in return. Just the way a pen can never say that I have written so many books. It's the author which is holding the pen. He is writing. So we are just a pen in the hand of the divine. He is the author. So what is the question of getting something in return? We do to the best of our capability as per the skills which the divine has given us, constantly remembering it is the God who is working through me, and resign to Him. So that is possible. So that's why he's saying that in Kali Yuga, just to sit down and think that I am Brahman, that leisure is not there. We don't have. It is such a time where just for our sustenance we have to work so hard. So that's why the devotion which has been prescribed by Narada is best for this age. Master, to Prana Krishna, my divine mother is not only formless, she has forms as well. One can see her forms. One can behold her incomparable beauty through feeling and love. The mother reveals herself to her devotees in different forms. Haladhari used to say that God is beyond both being and non-being. I told the mother about it and asked her, then is the divine form an illusion? The divine mother appeared to me and said, do thou remain in bhava. So this is a very technical term in the Ramakrishna tradition. Sri Ramakrishna, will find, is indicating again and again, is saying that remain in bhava, tui bhava mukhe thak. So what it actually speaks of? That being a devotee, when we resort to the form of the divine, with the form of the divine, from the form we go to the formless. By meditating on the form, it takes us to the formless aspect of the divine. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying she is both form and formless. But when you go to that domain of the formless, the noumenon aspect, the beyond the phenomenon, where you find that the entire existence has as if merged in that non-dual reality. When you come back from that state, there's a big difference now. Again, the world is visible, but now you palpably feel that the world is nothing but the projection of the divine. The divine is being projected as this world of name and form. So such a person is neither is staying in the state of that non-dual aspect of the divinity by totally merging himself in that absolute, nor he is like a worldly person just dealing with the world of name and form, taking that to be as a tangible reality. He is just as if in the borderline of the form and the formless. He is in the borderline from where, though he is in the world of name and form, but he is constantly aware that it is the divine which is appearing as the world which we see as such is not real as world, but it is real as Brahman. As there is a very nice incident in the life of Swami Turiyananda, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Throughout his life, he was an ardent Advaita follower of Advaita Vedanta. So he always used to do his vichara, that Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. That Brahma alone is real and this world is illusory. This is this highest dictum of Advaita Vedanta. The same Turiyananda, very nice, in his deathbed, just before he left his body, suddenly he started chanting something which was as if contrary to what he was contemplating throughout his life. What he started saying? Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya, Satya Satye Pratishtita. It's very interesting. The Brahma is Satya, Jagat is not Mithya. It is also truth. Because it is, how it is truth? It is not Mithya. It is not just an imagination. That I can imagine a castle in the air. It never exists. It's a mere imagination. The world is not something like a castle in the air. It is rather like a superimposition. I am seeing a snake in a rope. As snake, it doesn't exist. It is just a projection. The rope is appearing as snake. As long as the rope is there, the snake is there. If I remove the rope, the snake is not there. If the snake which I was seeing, it exists as long as the rope is there. So this snake is true as the rope. So Satya Satya Pratishtha, this second line is very important. That this truth is established in that truth. So in the last moment of his life, this wonderful revelation, which speaks the same thing which Sri Ramakrishna is saying. That when you stay in the borderline, you find that this is something which is established in it. This being a projection. If you remove this, that is not there. As Swami Vivekananda, we will give another wonderful example. When Swami Vivekananda for the first time visited the Niagara Falls, and he saw that the rainbow, even if we go now, that's there. The rainbow is always there. The rainbow. Throughout the day, even in the olden days when the pollution was much less, even at the night, on a full moon night, you could see the rainbow. It used to be so palpably visible. Nowadays, at night it is not visible. Of course, the day it is still visible. Throughout the day, you can see the rainbow. Seeing that, Swami Vivekananda immediately created a parable, wonderful parable. He told a wonderful thing, that what's the form, the aspect of divine with form. What a wonderful thing he's saying. See, as long as the sun is there, the Niagara Fall is there, the rainbow is there. So he's saying as long as sun, the Brahman is there, the world is a flow. Samsara means samsarati, that which is flowing. Everything is change. Something unchanging like sun is falling on something which is constantly flowing. The mist which comes out of it, on that the sun reflects. It's a constant flow. And from that, rainbow is being projected. So rainbow is the God. This Niagara Fall is the samsara, this world which is constantly flowing, constantly changing. So something which is eternal, when gets reflected in something which is a constant flow, appears as something again unchanging, like the rainbow. So Swami Vivekananda's definition of God is very nice. He's saying God is the highest reading of the absolute. Highest reading of the absolute. The Brahman, the sun, which is in this allegory has been taken as the Brahman, is falling on something. Its lights falling on the Niagara Falls is being reflected as a rainbow. Now, wonderful thing. If the Niagara Falls is not there, if it gets dried up, will the rainbow be there? No, the rainbow won't be there. Will the sun be there? It is always there. So this is the wonderful idea. As long as the sun is and the world is, the idea of God is the highest reading of the absolute. That with my limited mind, when I try to think of the absolute, I have to think it as some concept, as some idea, maybe with form or maybe without form, maybe it's some concept, whatever it is. But it speaks of the idea of God. What's that? The something which is absolute, real absolute being reflected on my mind, which is a part of this samsara, which is a flow, that appears as this Ishvara. As Brahman, it is always there. If world is not there, the so-called, in Vedanta, the idea of God is not there. God is not there. God is as long as the world is. But something absolute is always there. So these are the very wonderful way of understanding the idea of the form and the formless, as has been spoken of in Vedanta. Sri Ramakrishna himself in the Gospel in some other place gives a wonderful example. He says, suppose there are 10 pots full of water and there's a sun in the sky, and he's asking Girish Chandra Ghosh, a devotee who was a famous novelist of those time, that how many reflections of sun do you see? Girish says, obviously, that one sun and there are 10 reflections. Now Sri Ramakrishna says, you break one pot. There are 9 pots. So what do you see? Well, one sun and the 9 reflections. So like that, Sri Ramakrishna goes on saying, you go on breaking one pot. At last, only one pot is remaining. So yes, Girish says, one sun, one reflection. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, you break that last pot too. What is there? He says, only the sun. Sri Ramakrishna immediately says, you cannot say that. As long as the reflection is, you can say of the sun. When the reflection is not there, you cannot. So what's the idea? That reflection actually speaks of the absolute being reflected through the mind. If the mind is not there, what is, no one is there to perceive. So what is there, it becomes avang manasa gocharam. It is beyond our mind, speech and something. That absolute existence. So this is the wonderful idea. So that Sri Ramakrishna, how nicely with these parables, we try to understand this extremely profound ideal, the form and the formless. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying, when Haladhari said that God is something beyond being and non-being, it is not that he is saying something wrong. It is correct. But the advent of Sri Ramakrishna's purpose to be born as a human being, that's the purpose of an avatar, is to illumine the entire humankind. If he remains in the absolute, always absorbed in that samadhi, how will the world be illumined? It cannot illumine. So they have to remain in a state from where he is aware of that absolute existence, but he can relate with the world. So that speaks of that junction, that bhava mukha. So when Haladhari was speaking of that absolute, immediately the mother, the divine mother, came in the vision and is instructing Sri Ramakrishna, stay in bhava mukha. So the God has to come in the human form to illumine us, to save us. There are wonderful stories. There's even in Sufi tradition, the idea of incarnation, God coming down as a spiritual preceptor, is there. There's Jalaluddin Rumi's this famous one allegory is there, story is there, that one day the mother got up on the terrace to see she was scared to see that the child was almost sitting on the brink of on the edge of the terrace. Now the mother was about to rush to get hold of the child, and the child thought it's a play. The more the mother was going near, the child was still going to the edge, running away from the mother. Now mother was really scared. She didn't know what to do. And then a wise man was passing by the street. He understood the condition of this mother. He from there told, wait, don't move a single step. I am coming. And what he did? He saw that some children were playing. That wise man saw some children, village children were playing in this ground. So he called one of those children and gave him a toy, and asked the child to accompany him. The wise man slowly came to the terrace along with this another small child with a toy. And now the wise man told, just try to approach the one who is sitting on the edge. Now seeing this another child with the toy, the one who was in the edge, now instead of going still further to the edge of the terrace, started approaching the other child so that he can play with him. It's a wonderful story. So what's the idea? That God is there, of constantly calling us. But we inadvertently we are getting drawn towards the world. We are going more and more to the edge, in the danger, where there is more danger. To save us, God takes the form something like us. That the child, this another child was playing. He takes the form of the child, and he looks like us. He behaves like us. The toy speaks of the way we lead the life. He is also leading the life, and that is he in that form comes to us, and then we are drawn towards him, and that's how we are saved. So this is we will find these wonderful stories are there in all the traditions. What a wonderful story. So this speaks of that staying in the borderline. It is the divine. He is aware of his divine existence. But if he is always merged in there, who will save the world? So he comes down to the world in our level, behaves just like us. We feel as if he is one of us. Even in Bhagavatam, there is a story, wonderful story, that when, in the full moon night, when the reflection of the moon falls on the river, and along with the waves, the moon seems to be moving. All the fish comes running, and seeing something illumined, something moving, they think it is their playmate. And they will be as if trying to interact with the reflection of the moon. And then suddenly, when the moon is no more there, or a cloud comes and covers the moon, and suddenly this fish finds, oh, where is our playmate has gone? So that like that, this divine incarnation, they come. Seeing him, we feel as if he's just a part and parcel of this worldly existence. But actually, he is the divine, who is never forgetful about his divine awareness. But at the same time, he is still continuing in this phenomenal existence so that the world can relate to him. So this wonderful idea we'll find in these few words Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. What he's saying, my divine mother is not only formless. She has forms as well. One can see her forms. One can behold her incomparable beauty. Through feeling and love, the mother reveals herself to her devotees in different forms. So that's one aspect. And now the second, the borderline between the form and the formless, that's been spoken of in the second paragraph. Haladhari used to say that God is beyond both being and non-being. He used to study scripture. What he's saying is authentic. It is not something which has to be decried or denied. It is correct. I told the mother about it and asked her. So the mother never told that what Haladhari has told something is wrong. What she told? Then is the divine form an illusion? She never replied yes or no, not. What she told? The mother appeared to me and said, do thou remain in bhava. That is okay. But for that Ramakrishna has a purpose. He has been ordained by the divine to illumine the other beings. So that's the avatar coming down. So he has come down to the level of the borderline, so that though he is always aware of his divine spiritual dimension of his existence, but he never gets merged in it. He remains in the individual level so that he can help out others. And that's the idea of the Bhavamukha, this borderline. It's a rare state of divine exaltation when the devotee, after realizing the absolute, remains in the borderline between the absolute and the relative. And in this state, he sees that both the absolute and the relative as the two aspects of Godhead. So that's what is being indicated in the footnote. I repeated this to Haladhari. Now and then I forget her command and suffer. Once I broke my teeth because I didn't remain in bhava. So I shall remain in bhava unless I receive a revelation from heaven or have a direct experience to the contrary. I shall follow the path of love. What do you say? So these words appear so simple. That's why we say when we read the gospel, no one will think that I haven't understood. But as we start progressing in our spiritual journey or having a deeper understanding of the spiritual truth, we'll find that it is actually having layers of understanding. The way we thought at the beginning and the way we just understand it as we go deep into it, you'll find there's a marked difference. So what is there he's saying? That I repeated this to Haladhari now and then, I forget her command and suffer. What happened? One day Sri Ramakrishna was so absorbed in the divine contemplation. He was almost merging in samadhi. And he was actually walking down a path where there was some railway track. And as he was in that mood, in that tremendous absorption, he couldn't see. He fell down, and that's how he broke his teeth. Not only his teeth, his hand also broke. His hand also broke, and he broke his teeth. And so now what he's saying is interesting, that I forgot her command. So when your mind is merging in the absolute, to just bring it back, it becomes very difficult. This in yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, they speak of parinama, transformation of mind. That for an ordinary person, the mind is distracted, the sarvarthata. Through practice, it goes to the state of focus, one-pointed focus. It is called ekagrata. Sarvarthata leads to ekagrata. But the mind cannot stay in one thought. The mind has to jump from thought to thought. If it loses its polarity, in this world, anything which loses its polarity, immediately it's no more there. This world is a flow. The polarity speaks of the flow. Why water flows? Because there is difference in the level. From higher level to lower level, the water will flow. If the both levels are same, there is no flow. The flow stops. And this electricity, the same thing. From positive potential to negative potential, higher to negative, current flows. If both the ends have same potential, no current. Throughout the world, everywhere we will see why there is a flow, because there is polarity. When the polarity is resolved, no flow. In the mind, how long it is mind? As long it is jumping from thought to thought. If somehow we can manage to have only single thought, and that also very intense, because the thought falls and another rises. That speaks of the frequency. That frequency also has become very intense. Then what happens? The mind that goes to the state of thoughtlessness, because the polarity has been resolved. It is no more jumping from one thought to another, same thought, and it goes to the state of nirodha. So ekagrata leads to the state of nirodha. Now, for the first time when I go to the state of that thoughtlessness, it doesn't mean I will be staying there. Just the way for the first time I develop concentration, I find after some time it breaks. Why? Because my subconscious mind is full of distraction. They come and break my one-pointedness. I have to go on practicing so that at last my subconscious, all the distractions of the subconscious mind is washed away, and now it is only filled with ekagra vritti. Then that becomes the habitual state of our existence. There is no question of going back to distraction. But again, you cannot stay in one thought. That takes you to the state of thoughtlessness. For the first time when you go to that state, all the ekagra vritti, that one-pointed thought which now saturates your subconscious mind, they pop up to break your state of thoughtlessness. Sudden that, but your mind cannot go to the world of distraction anymore because that has already been cleansed off. But it comes back here. So now if I go to the state of thoughtlessness again and again, and that starts saturating my mind as samskara, washing of the ekagra vritti, a time will come that state of thoughtlessness will become the habitual state of my existence. I won't come back even to that state of one thought. So for an avatara, they forcefully bring back the mind from the state of thoughtlessness to thought. Because they have a purpose, they have to live. They cannot simply, if you go into that state of thoughtlessness permanently, even in the gospel it is mentioned, it takes just 21 days for the body to wither off. They cannot live for anymore. So Sri Ramakrishna will find that when for the first time he went into that samadhi, from nowhere a person came, for 6 months he was in Dakshineshwar. Whenever Sri Ramakrishna just used to come down a little bit from that highly exalted state, he would just thirst a morsel of food in his mouth. After 6 months, when Sri Ramakrishna's condition became bit normal, that man vanished. From where he came, no one knows. So that's why I say it was a divine dispensation. It was a plan of the divine that through Ramakrishna, he has to work. And even when he was in his later life, we will find that whenever he used to go to Samadhi, he would instruct his devotees. His holy mother, when she used to stay with Ramakrishna, at night Sri Ramakrishna used to go into bhava, and he instructed mother that when you see him in such and such bhava, repeat such and such mantra. Very interesting. The mantras, the name of God which we use for concentrating our mind, Sri Ramakrishna is using to bring it down from thoughtlessness to the state of thought. As he has gone to the thoughtlessness state, but his subconscious mind do have that ekavritti, the thought of the divine. With that, he pulls it back again. So it's a wonderful thing. We use the name of God to raise ourselves, and such an divine incarnation use the name of God to bring the mind down. And that's the state of, that is bhavamukha, because out of compassion, there's no other reason. They can easily merge in that absolute, just out of unbound compassion. It's divine dispensation, that they keep their mind in that level to continue in this world of phenomenal existence. I repeated this to, so now Sri Ramakrishna is saying that his mind is habitually goes to the state of thoughtlessness, but it is a divine plan that he should remain in this state. So that's why he's saying that I fell and broke my hand and my teeth, and as if God wanted to say me, wanted to say that we have already tell you, stay in bhava, don't merge yourself. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, that I forgot her command, and that's why I suffer. That I was going to that state of thoughtlessness again and again, and that's why I'm suffering. Once I broke my teeth because I didn't remain in bhava. So I shall remain in bhava unless I receive a revelation from heaven or have a direct experience to the contrary. So I am just like an instrument in the hand of the divine. So God is working through me. As long as He wills to keep me in this form, I have to continue. I may sometimes forget and just try to dive deep in that state of thoughtlessness, but the divine won't allow. The divine has some plan to work through me, and as long as it is His plan, I have to continue. I shall follow the path of love. What do you say? So just see, in these few words, it appears to be so simple words, but it actually speaks of a very, very high level of our spiritual dimension of existence, dimensional existence. So after Sri Ramakrishna saying, what do you say? Prana Krishna replies, yes, sir. And then the master says, but why should I ask you about it? There is someone within me who does all these things through me. At times I used to remain in a mood of godhood and would enjoy no peace of mind unless I were being worshipped. So when you feel the divine within you, so here, see, from an ordinary perspective, you may say, oh, as if it reflects the ego. I have to be worshipped. No. He is not aware of himself. He knows that it is the divine and divine alone who is residing within him and is working through him. So when he is worshipping his body, he is not worshipping himself as such. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna, very interesting. Like, as you will find, it sometimes the small children, they take quite some time to develop the sense of I. If you ask who has done this, the child will say his own name and say such and such. That if his name is, say, Gopala, he will say Gopala has done this. He will never say I have done it. He will always speak in that, not in this as subject. He will always say that as if he is the object. This Gopala has done it. In third person he will speak, never in the first person. Why? He is yet to develop a sense of individualistic identity. Sri Ramakrishna's life, you will find, he never used the word I. Whenever he has to say that that this is his idea, he will say this idea of this place. He will never say my. That this idea of I was totally relinquished by Sri Ramakrishna. That ego fell off. So that's why after saying that, why yes, sir, but why should I ask you about it? There is someone within me. He's always aware of that, who does all these things through me. At times I remain in a mood of Godhood, that who is within, as I am always aware of him. So now this body has become like a temple. It is not me, it is the divine who resides in me. So that's why I feel like worshipping. Why we worship in the temple? Because that's where the God resides. We go and pray in the church, in the temple, in the mosque, just feeling the palpable presence of the divine there. And an avataras feels the palpable presence of the divine in this body. It's not a question of ego. Seeing the divine, he feels like worshipping this. He feels that let this body be worshipped. So that's what he's saying. I enjoy no peace of mind unless I were being worshipped, because of this awareness of the divinity within. I am the machine, and the next line itself, the God is the operator. I act as he makes me act. I speak as he makes me speak. Keep your raft, says Ram Prasad, afloat on the sea of life, drifting up with the flood tide, drifting down with the ebb. What's the idea? That a raft, it doesn't has its own power to operate. If it is just simply flowing, when a high tide comes, it moves up with the high tide, and when a low tide comes, it just simply again falls in that ebb. So it is taken by the stream as it wills. In some other context, Sri Ramakrishna says, I am just like a dry leaf in the storm. In the storm, the dry leaf, it has no direction. Wherever the storm takes, it goes. So similarly, the God is working through me. It is the He who is actually deciding the direction of my life. I am just like a dry leaf in the storm, or just like a raft being afloat in the sea. It is drifting with the flood tide, drifting down with the ebb. It is like cast of, yes. In the next paragraph line, again, he gives us that example which just now I was relating. It is like the cast of leaf before a gale. Sometimes it is blown to a good place, sometimes into the gutter, according to the direction of the wind. So this speaks of the utter absence of ego in Sri Ramakrishna, and this incessant awareness, constant awareness that is the divine who is working through him. As the weaver said in the story, the robbery was committed by the will of Rama. I was arrested by the police, by the will of Rama, and again, by the will of Rama, I was set free. So it's actually a story which Sri Ramakrishna is relating to. That a very simple person, a devout person, was in a hot, sultry weather in India. The summer season can be very, very hot and sultry. So at night, he was, as it was very hot indoors, he was enjoying the cool breeze outside, sitting just in the courtyard and taking God's name. And then a group of, just a band of robbers, they were passing by, and the loot which they had was so much, its weight was so much that they found it difficult to carry. And finding this person sitting there lazily, caught hold of that person and told, he was forced to carry that load for them. And now when the police came, the robbers ran, and this simple fellow, he was caught with all the loot. It is the robbers who were forced him to carry that loot, and now he couldn't run. This police caught him and thought him that he was a part of this band of robbers. He is also a robber. But all the villagers knew that he is actually a very devout person. He always used to say that everything happens by the will of the divine, by the will of Rama. He was a devotee of Rama. Says by everything happens by the will of Rama. So now the villagers were really very curious to see what happens. So now he was taken to the court. And when the villagers related that actually he is a very devout person, in the court he was asked that what has happened. In the witness stand, there was some witness to speak in favor of him. He related the entire story, that what has actually happened. And when all were just aware that actually he is a very simple person, somehow got caught because of the robbers who had forced him to carry that loot. So at last it was decided that let him be released. So now when he was released, so what he was saying, that is the thing he was saying, that as he always had that belief that nothing happens without the will of God, everything happens with the will of God. So now what he was saying, the robbery was committed by the will of Rama, I was arrested by the police by the will of Rama, and again by the will of Rama I was set free. So such a person is a person who has developed this non-resistance. That's the highest ideal, spiritual ideal. To develop that sense of non-resistance. I resist nothing. No, I do resist no evil. I know everything is happening by the will of the Lord. The Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga starts with that idea that you will say resistance, that non-resistance of evil. Yes, that's what even Jesus has done when he was crucified. What he is doing. Is he resisting? No. Everything is happening by the will of the Lord. Sometimes we don't understand. It is the crucifixion alone that has spread the Christianity. At that moment, for an ordinary person, it was something which was a wrong thing. But see the plan of the divine from the retrospect. And Jesus, what he is saying, that is totally resigned. That God, this person, these all people don't know what they're doing. Please forgive them. So isn't it the highest example of non-resistance? And when it happens, when we really become aware of the fact, everything happens by the will of Lord. Even a leaf cannot move. That in the wind, it is just, it is being blown away. That a leaf is being blown away, that also is by the will of God. Nothing. A single leaf cannot move in the wind without the will of God. That's the thing which Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel. So with that idea, we will stop our discussion today. That Sri Ramakrishna is indicating that one who has went to that spiritual realization, when the ego has totally obliterated, he alone can realize the fact that everything is happening by the God's will. Not before that. For us, it will be just a mere word. It's not a realization. So that's why in Upanishad, a man of realization has been spoken of as Nativadi, Na-ativadi. He never speaks a word which is beyond his realization. We may say that, oh, I have resigned to the divine, everything is happening by the will of the divine, but these are mere words. It's only a spiritually illumined soul who realizes it. And that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying from his realization. That he is just an instrument he has felt in his life. He's just an instrument in the hand of the Lord. It is the God who is working through him. He cannot do anything which is contrary to the God's will. So with this, we stop our discussion today. We will continue with the remaining portion again in the next class. So thank you all. Namaskar.